Welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Eric. I'll be taking you through this topic, decimals, and for this lesson, we'll be looking at rounding off of decimals. So we will do a bit of review on decimal places, and then number two, we'll be looking at rounding off to a given number of decimal places, and then at the end of the lesson, we'll be able to give you some assignment to help you with just gauging your understanding of the concept as discussed through this lesson. So, what is decimal place? Like when you talk about decimal place, what is it? So, decimal place is, as has been discussed previously, is the position of a digit after the decimal point. When you talk about decimal place, it simply means the position of a digit, and these digits are the digits that are appearing after a decimal point in a given decimal number. So the number of decimal places is equivalent to the number of digits. There is an omission here, so it's the number of digits to the right of the decimal point. So you can have like 0.24. So how many digits are there after the decimal point? 1, 2. So 2 decimal places. That's what you say. The number of decimal places is equivalent to the number of digits to the right of the decimal point. If you have 0.012, so how many digits do you see after the decimal point? 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are how many decimal places? 4 decimal places. We'll write 4dp in short. 4 decimal places. So there is the first position, second position, third position, and fourth position. So it's the first decimal place, second decimal place, third decimal place, and fourth decimal place. Or 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 3. So you keep counting as you change as you move from the decimal point. So when changing a number from a fraction to a decimal, and the process of carrying out division goes over and over again without ending, we may need to restrict the working to a given number of decimal places. We say if that is especially for non-terminating decimals, say you try to change the fraction to a given decimal number or from fraction to decimal, and the process of carrying out the division goes over and over again without ending, then you may round off. So the process of restricting, the working to a given number of digits after the decimal point, we call it rounding off. We're going to see how we do that. So we may round off the digits to any number of required decimal places. So if you're given such a question in a test, you should be able to, the examiner will be able to guide you on how many number of decimal places, So if it's not specified, then it's usually advisable that you give it to maybe 4 or 5. We are going to see how we go about that later on. So we have these examples here. Round off the following numbers to the nearest 2 decimal places. So you see. So we want to start with the first one. That is part A. So we're going to start with this one here. So rounding off, you have done before. If you check from our previous slides or previous videos, you'll be able to see how rounding off is done. We have done it before, only that we did rounding off to the nearest place values. Now we are doing rounding off to the nearest a number of decimal places. So here we have 2 decimal places. Mostly in exams, you'll just maybe see an examiner write 2 DPs, something like that. That means 2 decimal places. So let's start with the first one here. We have 0.13458. So number of decimal places are counted from the first digit of the decimal point. So 1, 2. then you draw the cutoff line. Then just like we did in the previous case when you were rounding off to the nearest places or place values, the digit after the cutoff line is what is most important. Once you draw your cutoff line, you look at the digit after the cutoff line and the digit before. So the digit before, we either increase it by 1 or leave it the way it is. Then after you're done with rounding off, all the digits after the cutoff line will be reduced to zeros. But now, the digit after the cutoff line will determine whether we add 1 to the digit before or we leave it the way it is. So the digit after the cutoff line could fall in these two categories of numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There is also 0. So we draw this line here. So these digits, we call them lower category digits. And these digits, we call them upper category. So if the digit of the cutoff line falls in the lower category from 0 to 4, nothing happens to the digit before the cutoff line, like 3 here. But if the digit after the cutoff line falls in the upper category digits, 5 to 9, then you increase the digit before the cutoff line by 1. So like in this case, 4 falls in the lower category, so nothing happens to 3. So it remains. And then, of course, all the other digits will remain except these digits after the cutoff line. Once we are done with the rounding off process, we'll always reduce them to zeros, all of them. So we'll write 0.13. These 3 would have increased by 1, but now the digit after the cutoff line falls in the lower category, so nothing happens to 3, so 3 remains. And then all the digits after the cutoff line, all these ones, will reduce them to zeros. So 0, 0, 0. Now again, these last zeros after the decimal point, they normally don't count that much, so you can always ignore them. So 2 decimal places. Remember to write this. 2 decimal places. So this is approximately equal to this. You see. So that is how you do it. So let's look at B. We have 2.90657. The number of decimal places still remain. When such questions appear in exams, examiners should guide you on the number of decimal places that you should use. So here what we'll do is to count the number of decimal places. Remember, we count them from the first digit of the decimal to the right. 1, 2. Then you draw the cutoff line. And look at the digit of the cutoff line. If it falls in either of the categories, you either increase the digit before the cutoff line by 1 or leave it the way it is. So if it falls in the lower category, that is the digit after the cutoff line falls in the lower category, nothing happens with the digit before. Falls in the upper category digits 5 to 9, then you increase the digit before by 1. Like in this case, 6 is in the upper category, so you will increase 0 by 1. Of course, the digits before the cutoff, all of them will remain the way they are, except this one particular digit that is before the cutoff line. If I have 2.91, then all this other one will always reduce to zeros. So 0, 0, 0. And I have said again, if we have the decimal point, all these last zeros will not count that much, so you can always ignore them. That is in condition that we have decimal point. This is approximately equal to this. You indicate 2 decimal places. So again, we have C. So that is 35.90109. So you again count the number of decimal places. Remember, decimal places, we are still counting from the first digit after the decimal point. So we have 1, 2. So you draw the cutoff line, then you look at the digit after the cutoff line, whether it falls in the upper category group or in the lower category group. So we have our digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have that. So we have all these, we have lower category, and we have all these upper category. So upper category group of digits ranges from 5 to all the way up to 9. So if you look at the digits after the cutoff line, 1 falls in the lower category group. The range of digits that are ranging from 0 to 4. So 1 is part of that group. That means nothing happens to the digit before the cutoff line, which is 0. So it remains just that. So we have this number here being approximately equal to 35.90. All these digits after the cutoff line, once you are done with the rounding off process, they're supposed to be reduced to zeros. So there are 3 of them. So we have zeros, 3 of them. But then remember, we have noted before that the digits, the last digits, is very last digits after the decimal point. I mean, the last zeros, these last zeros, they don't count that much. So you can as well ignore them. That is in condition that you have a decimal point. So you can ignore them. Now, this one here, we cannot remove it because it is holding position for the second place, decimal place. Remember, we're supposed to round off to the nearest 2 decimal places. So the last 0 here is holding position for the second decimal place. So this other one we cannot remove. So the other ones, we can remove them, but this one here, it's not possible for us to remove it. So again, we have this second example here. So we are supposed to round off the following numbers to the nearest 3 degrees. So this one, if you see it in any book, it stands for DPs, decimal places. So these are 3 decimal places. So decimal places, we count from the first digit of the decimal point. So we count 1, 2, 3. Then you draw the cutoff line. So again, we have our digits ranging from 0 to 9. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have these are lower category group of digits, and we have these ones upper category group of digits from 5 to 9. So you look at the digit after the cutoff line. Does it fall in the lower category or in the upper category? 8 falls in the upper category group, and therefore we're supposed to increase the digit before the cutoff line by 1. So 9 here is supposed to be increased by 1. So if you increase 9 by 1, that will be 10. So you write 0 carry 1. That 1 is taken to the next digit. You add it to 0, it becomes 1. So this one is going to be approximately equal to 9.010. Now, these last 2 digits, we'll always reduce them to zeros after we are done with the process of rounding off. So 0, 0. But now, because we have a decimal point, the last zeros here will not really count that much. So you can ignore them. The last one here, again, we will not remove it because it is holding position for the third decimal place. So you can't remove it. Now, if you move to B again, you count decimal places from the first digit of the decimal point. That is 1, 2, 3. Then you draw the cutoff line. Then look at the digit after the cutoff line, It falls in the upper category. You can see where 7 is. So you increase the digit before by 1. So this is going to be approximately equal to 34.099. So this 8 here has been increased by 1 to 9. So it's no longer 98, but now 99. Then, of course, these other ones here will be reduced to zeros. And as you have noted earlier, the last zeros, they really don't count that much. So you do away with them. So that's what we have. If you move to the last one here, C, again, you do the same thing. Count the number of decimal places from the first digit after the decimal point. So this is where the decimal point is. So the first digit here is 9. So 1, 2, 3. Draw the cutoff line. Look at the digit after the cutoff line, 8. Does it fall in the upper category or in the lower category? So 8 falls in the upper category group of digits. That means we are increasing the digit before the cutoff line by 1. So if you increase 9 by 1, that is 10. So we carry 1 to the next digit, will be 10 again. Carry that 1 to the next digit, 10. So 0, carry 1 again. And then there is point there. So 2, we add 1, that will be 3. So this is approximately equal to 3.000. Even this other one is supposed to be reduced to zeros, but that will not really have much impact. There are 3 zeros, but can ignore them. These other ones, we can't remove them because they are holding position 4. They are holding position for the first, second, and third decimal place. So that is basically the process of rounding off, how we do rounding off of numbers. Remember to count the required number of decimal places, draw the cutoff line, look at the digit after the cutoff line, whether it falls in the upper category group or in the lower category group. If the digit after the cutoff line falls in the lower category group, nothing happens to the digit before the cutoff line. If the digit after the cutoff line falls in the upper category group of digits, we increase the digit before the cutoff line by 1. And of course, remember that all the time when you're done with immediately you're done with the rounding off process, we reduce the digits after the cutoff line to zeros. If there is a decimal point, the last zeros also don't count, so we can always ignore them. Yeah. So that is all about that. So we have some questions here to help you practice and also to help you check on your understanding of the concepts as discussed through this lesson. So you're supposed to round off the following numbers to the nearest 2 decimal places. So we have the numbers ranging from A to D. You can always attempt, post the responses in the comment section. We'll be looking at them and we'll be able to give you feedback accordingly. Otherwise, that marks the end of the lesson. Until next time, goodbye.